साद्वैतम सावधूतम परिजन सहितम कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सर्वंदरिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिने नामने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यादि पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण विष्णु कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे सर्वशास्त्रार्थी पीयूष सर्ववेदैक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैक त्रिप्रद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभु कलिद्भागवतादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तित परमानंद पाठाय प्रेमवर्षक्षरायते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्या श्रीकृष्णाय नमोस्तुमे एक बंधु मत्संगी मद्गुरो मन्महाधन मन्निस्तारक मद्भाग्य मदानंद नमोस्तुते असाधु साधुतादायन नतिनीचोच्चताकर कानमंसिकदाचिन्मा प्रेमना हृत्कण्ठयोस्फुर ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय okay wait let me get some water okay 3.7.39 are we on schedule okay holiday 3.7.39 commentaries that's where I am but let me read out the verse anyway निमित्तानि च तस्येह प्रोक्तान्यनघ सूरिभिः स्वतो ज्ञानं कुतः पुंसां भक्तिर्वैराग्यमेव वा spotless devotees of the Lord have mentioned the source of such knowledge. How could one have knowledge of devotional service and detachment without the help of such devotees? Commentaries. Nimittani chittasya. Okay, wait. सूर्यभिः प्रोक्तानि तस्य इह निमित्तानि च पुंसां ज्ञानं भक्तिः वैराग्यमेव च स्वतः कुतः स्वतः ज्ञान okay just trying to understand the structure of the यानि सूर्यभिः प्रोक्तानि तस्य ज्ञानस्य साधनानि तानि च ब्रूहि गुरुं विना एतान् न भवति इत्याह स्वतः इति Please tell me about the means to attain spiritual knowledge, understanding, realization as spoken by the great souls, the Suris, the great devotees of the Lord. Gurum vina etat na bhavati. This does not take place without a guru. That is stated in the second half of this verse. Swataha jnanam kutaha pumsam bhakti vairagyam evacha. How could one have such knowledge, bhakti and vairagya? How could people have Jnana, Bhakti, and Vairagya, just by themselves, Purushasya iti sadhakam. Purushasya, this is Purushasya, that is the previous. Purushasya, 38 here. The 38 and the first half of 39 is grouped together. पुरुषस्य प्रकृत्यादिद्रष्टुः संस्थानं सहस्रशीर्षा इत्यादि रूपं ततः परस्य श्री भगवतः च ज्ञानं विचाररूपं स्वतः इति अर्थकम्. And then Jiva Goswami counts the second half of this verse as a separate sentence. So this is his presentation. Please tell me about the situation of the Purusha. The Purusha refers to the one who glances at Prakriti and so on. Please tell me about the situation of this Purusha. The situation refers to him being in the form of the thousand-headed person and so on. Tatah parasya Shri Bhagavatah cha Jnanam. And also tell me about that Supreme Shri Bhagavan. Give me knowledge about him. That knowledge refers to the knowledge of vichara, deliberation. Anagha, suribhihi, niraparadha vigya bhakti. This is wrong. Anagha suribhihi. And the sources of such knowledge have been mentioned in this world by spotless devotees. Anagha suribhihi, niraparadha vigya bhakti. Offense-less, experienced devotees. This Vigya appears in Nectar of Instruction, text 5. Shushrushaya bhajana vigyam. This is a symptom of first-class devotee. One who has experienced or detailed, clear knowledge regarding the science of devotional service. Guru vina etat na bhavati tyaha swataha iti. Without a guru, one does not attain such knowledge. There are many inexperienced persons who advocate self-realization without the help of a spiritual master. They decry the necessity of the spiritual master and try to take his place themselves by propagating the theory that a spiritual master is not necessary. Srimad Bhagavatam, however, does not approve this viewpoint. Even the great transcendental scholar Vyasadeva had need of a spiritual master, and under the instruction of a spiritual master Narada, he prepared this sublime literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. Even Lord Chaitanya, although he is Krishna himself, accepted a spiritual master. Even Lord Krishna accepted a spiritual master, Sandipani Muni, in order to be enlightened. And all the acharyas and saints of the world had spiritual masters. See, the Sandipani Muni, Krishna accepted initiation from him also. There is a view that all these statements about accepting a spiritual master refers to accepting a Shiksha Guru. But here we can see that the reference is not just to Shiksha Guru, it is Diksha Guru also. In the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna accepted Lord Krishna as a spiritual master, although there was no necessity of such a formal declaration. So in all cases, there's no question about the necessity of accepting a spiritual master. The only stipulation is that the spiritual master should be bona fide. That is, the spiritual master must be in the proper chain of disciplic succession called the Parampara system. Suris are great scholars, but they may not always be Anagha or spotless. The Anagha Suri is one who is a pure devotee of the Lord. Those who are not pure devotees of the Lord or who want to be on an equal level with him are not Anagha Suri. Pure devotees have prepared many books of knowledge on the basis of authorized scripture. Srila Rupa Goswami and his assistants, under the instructions of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have all written various literatures for the guidance of prospective devotees, and anyone who is very serious about raising himself to the standard of a pure devotee of the Lord must take advantage of those literatures. Okay. 40. एतान् मे पृच्छतः प्रश्नान् हरेः कर्म विवित्सया ब्रूहि मे यस्य मित्रत्वात् अजया नष्टचक्षुषः. My dear sage, I put all these questions before you with a view to knowing the pastimes of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are the friend of all, so kindly describe them for all those who have lost their vision. Ajaya, Avidyaya, Nashtachakshuha. Okay, let me just read out the Anvaya without synonyms. Ajaya, Nashtachakshushah, Agyasya, me, Mitratva, Harehe, Karma Vivitsaya, Prichyataha me, Etan Prashnan Bruhi. Please reply to my questions while I ask you about the activities of Lord Hari, because you are my friend and I am ignorant because I have lost my eyes due to the unborn avidya, ignorance potency. I've lost my eyes means I've lost my spiritual vision. मे प्रश्नान् मे मित्रत्वात् स्निग्धत्वात् इति अन्वयभेदात् न मे पदस्य पौनरुक्त्यम्. Because you are my friend, because of friendship. That means because you are affectionate. You are the friend of all, as Prabhupada renders. That means you are affectionate to me. You are affectionate to everyone. Nanu tarhi nanavidhaha prashnaha etavantah katham kritaha. Then why did you ask me all these questions? Putraha, anticipating this, he speaks this. Hareh karma, paricharya adikam, tasya vivitsaya, prapti ichchaya eva, etan mama prashnan bruhi, sarvajjigyasata siddhau satyam eva, bhagavat paricharyaya manaha anya nirapeksham ekagram bhavati. I've asked all these questions with a desire to attain the activities of Lord Hari, which means to attain menial services and other activities in devotional service to Lord Hari. To answer all of these questions, because only when all these inquiries are resolved, then the mind will become focused without becoming attracted to anything else other than the menial service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Manasaha ekagriya satyeva tat praptiriti. The implication is one attains the Supreme Personality of Godhead only when the mind becomes single pointed. Me mahyam mam udhartam iti me padasya paunaruttim nashankyam. You should speak all this for my sake, which means to deliver me. Mitratvaditi mitrayaha putraha tvam api mitrameva sarva jagatamiti bhava. Another implication relates to the word mitratva. As the son of Mitra, you are a Mitra. And Mitra also means a friend. You are a friend to all the worlds. Vidura put forward many varieties of questions with a view to understanding the principles of transcendental loving service to the Lord. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 2.41, devotional service to the Lord is one, and the mind of the devotee is not diverted to the many branches of uncertainties. Vidura's purpose was to be situated in that service to the Lord, wherein one merges undivertedly. He claimed the friendship of Maitreya Muni, not because he was Maitreya's son. There's a mistake. It should be Mitra's son. It's a transcription error. But because Maitreya was actually the friend of all who have lost their vision, spiritual vision due to material influence. 41. Sarve Vedashe Gyascha. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur refers to, regarding text 40, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur refers to a famous verse from the 10th canto. Tavakathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashapaham shravanamangalam shrimadatam bhuvi grananti te bhurita jana. Those who distribute information about the Supreme Lord are actually very great souls according to Krishna's internal potencies themselves. 41. Sarve Vedashi Gyascha Tapodarani Janatha Jiva Bhaya Pradhanasya Nakurviran Kalamapi. O spotless one, your answers to all these questions will grant immunity from all material miseries. Such charity is greater than all Vedic charities, sacrifices, penances, etc. Anagha, O sinless one, Jiva Bhaya Pradhanasya Sarve Vedaha cha Yajnaha cha Tapodanani cha Kalamapi na Kurviran. This activity of granting fearlessness or immunity from material pangs for the living entity cannot be compared with the entire Veda, that means study of the Veda, yajna, performances of various fire sacrifices, tapas, austerities, dana, and various forms of charity. Tattva upadeshena jiva abhaya pradhanasya. Here, granting fearlessness to the living entities refers to granting fearlessness to the living entities through knowledge of the absolute truth. Jivanam itah tatah bhitanam kim uta samsara bhitanam abhaya pradhanasya ityartha. Grant fearlessness to the living entities means to grant fearlessness to the frightened living entities. What to speak of those who are frightened of being in the very cycle of birth and death. न केवलम् इदं मत् उद्धारार्थम् अपि उद्धारार्थमेव अपि तु भवतः अपि पुण्ययशः लाभार्थम् इत्याह. It is not just to deliver me, but it is for your own attainment of pious glories. Actually, only yesterday I was seeing in Anuvyakhyana, Madhvacharya's second explanation to the Vedanta Sutra. He says that when the Guru teaches the Shishya Shastra, the Guru gets double the benefit. Not more, not even double, more than that. It was huge. And then he refers to this verse of Bhagavad Gita that Prabhupada often quoted, that one who preaches this message of Bhagavad Gita, he is dearest to me. It is good for the Guru also. It is not just good for the Shishya, it is good for the Guru also. The highest perfectional work of charity is to give people in general immunity from the anxieties of material existence. This can be done only by performing activities in devotion service to the Lord. Such knowledge is incomparable. Cultivation of the knowledge in the Vedas, performance of sacrifice, and distribution of munificent charities altogether cannot form even a part of the immunity from the pangs of material existence that is gained from devotion service. The charity of Maitreya will deliver not only Vidura, but due to its universal nature, all others in all times. Thus Maitreya is immortal. 42. Shubhovacha. So itham aprishta purana kalpa kur pradhanena munik pradhana pravriddha harsho bhagavat kathaya sanchodhitastam rahasannivaha. Okay, 1 minute. Thought of something which I should not forget. Just quickly note it. Shukadeva Goswami said, thus the chief of the sages, who was always enthusiastic about describing topics regarding the personality of God, began to narrate the descriptive explanation of the Puranas. Being so inspired by Vidura, Maitreya was very much enlivened by speaking on the transcendental activities of the Lord. Shukadeva Purupradhanena aprishta Purana kalpaha sah मुनिप्रधानः भगवत्कथायाम् इत्थं संचोदितः प्रवृद्धः हर्षः प्रहसन् इव तम् आह. Shukadeva Goswami said, when the best of the gurus had asked all these questions that, pertaining to what is revealed in the Puranas, then that best of the munis, Maitreya, when he was inspired or impelled to speak about Bhagavad Katha, topics pertaining to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he became delighted. He became more delighted. And with a happy face, happily, he spoke as follows. Smilingly spoke as follows. Purana Kalpa indicates that he knew how to explain these Vedic supplements, the Puranas. He was enriched fully with satisfaction. Purane kalpate prakashate iti Purana kalpaha vuvutstha artha. So he had asked about the subject matter of the revelations in the Puranas. Aprishtaha Purana kalpaha ayam saramuni. Aprishta Purana kalpa yatrasa. Puraneshu Purana Tatparyeshu kalpate Vyakhyana samartha bhavati iti Purana kalpaha. Aprishtaha cha aso Purana kalpaha cha iti saha. Okay, it's a fine explanation. The sage Maitreya, he was capable of explaining the purports of the Purana. And he was inquired. Prahasan iva literally means as if smiling. Vasutahatu, but in reality, Harshotta Spita Vishishta iti artha. He was actually smiling. And he was smiling because he was delighted. Great learned sages like Maitreya Muni are always very enthusiastic about describing the transcendental activities of the Lord. Maitreya Muni, being thus invited by Vidura to speak, appeared to be smiling because he actually felt transcendental bliss. Chapter 8, Manifestation of Brahma from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. 1. Maitreya Vacha. Satsevaniyo Batapuru Vamsho Yallokapalo Bhagavat Pradhana. Babhuvithe he no. Babhuvithe ha Jitakirti Malam. This is Babhuvitha Iha Jita Kirti Malam. Pade Pade Nutanas Nutanayasya Nutanayasi. It is a noun which has become a verb. The great sage Maitreya Muni said to Vidura, the royal dynasty of King Puru is worthy to serve the pure devotees because all the descendants of that family are devoted to uh, the personality of Godhead. You are also born in that family, and it is wonderful that because of your attempt, uh, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are becoming newer and newer at every moment. Okay. Sri Maitreya Vacha, Sri Maitreya said, Bata, oh, Satsevaniha Ayam Purusha Vamsha, Puru Vamsha. This, the descendants of King Puru are fit to serve the pure devotees. Yet, because, yes, not because, Iha Bhagavad Pradhana, Lokapalaha, Babhuvitha, because the best of the Bhagavad, the one who is most interested in serving Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lokapala, Yamadharmaraj, that is you, have taken birth in this dynasty. Abhikshnam pade pade ajita kirti malam nutanayasi. And at every moment, you are bringing about freshness to the glories of the unconquered Lord, which means you're making the pastimes of Lord Hari more and more new. अष्टमे समभूत ब्रह्मा नाभेस्तु जलशायिनः तम अजानन जले बिभ्यत तपसा पोषयत विभुम. In the 8th chapter, it is described that Brahma took birth from the navel of the Lord who lies on the water. Without knowing about him, he became frightened in the water. And then he satisfied the Supreme Lord through austerities. Okay, wait, I need to be sure about something here. Toshaya or Toshaya. What is it? Tapasa Toshayat Prabhu. Tapasa Toshayat Vibhum is also there. Toshayat. With austerities, he satisfied the Lord. Toshayat has the sense that he nourished the Lord, which is not appropriate. It should be Toshayat. Okay. Protaram Abhinandati. So now he congratulates his listener. Satam Sevatum Yogyaha Vatah Aho Yat Yasmat. Iha Asmin Vamshe Lokapalaha Dharmarajaha Tvam Babhuvitha Jataha. Now Lokapala is a post. There are 8 Lokapalas in the universe. In each universe, there are 8 Lokapalas. Yamaraj is one, or Dharmaraj is one. Dharmaraj was born as Vidura. And what is the nature of this Dharmaraj? Asambhutaha Bhagavaneva Pradhana Bhuta Yasya Sir. He is chiefly concerned with serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. अत्र हेतुः अजित इति प्रतिक्षणं नूतनयसि नवीनां करोषि. At every moment you make these topics of Lord Hari newer and newer. एवं द्वितीय स्कंध अन्ते पाद्मं कल्पम अथोष्टृणु इति यदुक्तं तद अवतारणार्थं चतुश्लोकी महिमगर्भितम् एतावन्तं ग्रन्थम् उक्त्वा तमेवाह. So having introduced the topic at the end of the second canto, now listen to me about Padmakalpa, which is specifically glorified by the revelation of the Chatushloki. So now it continues. Soham ityadina. Bhagavatam. Darshanadi vartitam tad Bhagavata vishesham ityartha. That is not yet come, it will come. Bhagavatam. Actually text 2. Darshini. अष्टमे श्रीहरेर्नाभिपद्मोद्भूतः चतुर्मुखः अन्वेषणात् विरम्य आप्तसमाधिः तम् अवर्क्षत. In the 8th chapter, Chaturmukha is born from the lotus navel of Sri Hari. And then he begins to search for Lord Hari. Then he stops. Then he engages in samadhi. And after he engages in meditation, and after he attains samadhi, he saw Lord Sri Hari. Bho Vidura, O Vidura, ताम च अपि युष्मच्चरण सेवयाहं परानुदे इत्यादिना स्वतः ज्ञानं कुतः पुंसाम इत्यादिना च त्वं मत्संगं प्रार्थयसे. You are hankering for my association because of your statement that I require to serve your lotus feet without the association of devotees. How can the living entities attain knowledge, devotion, and detachment? Manmatetu, but in my opinion, Sakshat Tavasangah Paramadurlabhaha, your association is factually most rare to achieve. Kena Mahasukriti Chudamanina Labhyatam, only a person who is the crest jewel of great pious people will be able to attain this kind of association. Tvat prasanga anuprasangavati api jane sevyamane haru bhakti syaditi viduram stuvanna vinandati. So in that way, while glorifying Vidura, he points out that only a person who has attained intimate association with you, one who has attained association that follows the association with personality like you. When such a person is served, then devotion to Lord Hari comes about. Bhata aho, oh, taya asmat janmartham angikritah. पूर्ववंशः अपि सतां सेवितुं योग्यः कृतः यत् यत्र त्वं बहुविधः जातः असि. You have taken birth in a family which is fit to serve. Even though it is the great Puruvamsha, still fit to serve. Asambhutaha, what kind of person are you? Brahma, Paramatma Bhagavatsu, Matabhedena Upasya Surupeshu, Trishu Madhye, Bhagavan eva Pradhana Bhuta Yasyasa. There are three different opinions on serving the object of worship as Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. Amongst these, you have been focused on serving Bhagavan, meditating on and serving Bhagavan. Iha, and in this world, Bhagavat Upasakeshu api madhye ajita kirtimala avikshnam pratikshanam eva nutanayasi kirtimalam imam swa rasana suchya kevalam grathnami eva. I am, no, this is a pun here. The word mala here, iti mala. The word mala can also mean a garland. So he says, using the needle of my tongue, I'm simply weaving this garland. But you're the one at every moment. You're the one who's making them fresh. Therefore, I'm able to do this. Tvam punar enam atisnigdha anuragi swakarna manah sampushta antar nidhaya nitya navini karoshi. Then what are you doing? You are making this very fresh. You are nourishing my ears and minds uh, with extreme affection and attachment. Tvan mahatmyam anirvachyam eva. So the implication is your glory cannot be described. You're making all these subjects nourish my ears and minds with great affection, with great attachment for Lord Hari. The great sage Maitreya thanked Vidura and praised him by reference to his family glories. The Puru dynasty was full of devotees of the personality of Godhead and was therefore glorious because they were not attached to the impersonal Brahman or to the localized Paramatma, but were directly attached to Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. They were worthy to render service to the Lord and his pure devotees because Vidura was one of the descendants of that family. Naturally, he engaged in spreading wide the ever new glories of the Lord. Maitreya felt happy to have such glorious company as Vidura. He considered the company of Vidura most desirable because such association can accelerate one's dormant propensities for devotional service. Very good. Then two. Soham nrinamchulla sukhaya dukkham mahadgatanam viramaya tasya pravartaye bhagavatam puranam yadaha sakshat bhagavan rishibhyah. Let me now begin speaking on the Bhagavata Purana, which was directly spoken to the great sages by the personality of Godhead for the benefit of those who are entangled in extreme miseries for the sake of very little pleasure. Saha aham chulla sukhaya mahad dukham gatanam nrinam. For the sake of men who undergo great distress just to attain very little happiness. Tasya viramaya, to prevent them from having to undergo such a miserable experience. Bhagavatam Puranam Pravartaye. I will now begin talking about the Bhagavata Purana. Sakshat Bhagavan Sankarshana Rishibhya Aha, which the direct personality of Godhead, which the personality of Godhead Sankarshana directly spoke to the sages. Alpasukhaya mahad dukkham praptanam tasya dukkhasya viramaya pravartaye prarabdha. So this Bhagavatam has been spoken to prevent these people from having to undergo such extreme miseries. Oh. सर्व प्रश्नोत्तराणि श्री भागवत पुराणे एव उपलभ्यन्ते इति तद् भाग्य विशेषमेव त्वां श्रावयामि. All of your questions have been answered in Sri Bhagavata Purana. The answers to all of your questions are found in Sri Bhagavata Purana. So it is your special fortune that I will cause you to hear them. I will speak about them too. With this in mind, he speaks this. Saha prasiddha parashar shishya aham. Saha aham means literally um, in English it's very awkward to render it literally, but it means that I will speak. And that here has a sense, that well-known person. Maitreya is a well-known person, first of all, amongst the learned in Vedic civilization. So that person who's well-known as a disciple of Parashara, I will speak. Shulla sukhaya tuksha vishaya sukhartham dukkham narkaditasya dukkhasya. I will speak the Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken to prevent people from having to undergo great distress. Great distress means that, like the distress that is experienced in the hellish planets, etc., for the sake of attaining little happiness, which means insignificant sensual happiness. Etena sukhaya karmani karoti loka iti atra yadatra yuktam bhagavan vadet na इति त्वत् आदिमे प्रश्नः अपि एतदेव युक्तम् उत्तरं भवति इति. So this is a fitting answer to Vidura's question that in this world everyone engages in activities just for happiness. How can they become free from distress? Please give me a fitting answer. O powerful sage. This was the first question. And this is a fitting answer to that. The sage Maitreya proposed to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam because it was especially compiled and has traditionally come down. Because it was especially compiled and has traditionally come down in the disciplic succession to provide the solution to all the problems of human society. Only one who is fortunate can have the opportunity to hear Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of pure devotees of the Lord. Under the spell of the material energy, the living entities are entrapped in the bondage of many difficulties simply for the sake of a little bit of material happiness. They engage in fruitive activities, not knowing the implication. Under the false impression that the body is a self, the foolish living entities become attached to so many things, thinking they can relate with such material paraphernalia forever. This gross misconception of life is so strong that a person suffers continually, life after life, under the external energy of the Lord. If one comes in contact with both the book Bhagavatam and the devotee Bhagavata, who knows what the Bhagavatam is, then such a fortunate man gets out of the material entanglement. Therefore, Sri Maitreya Muni, out of compassion for the suffering men in the world, proposes to speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam first and last. So he's only interested in speaking about Bhagavatam. So when he says, I will now begin to speak about Bhagavatam, it doesn't mean that after this he will start speaking about something else. He will only speak on Bhagavatam. That we see in these two cantos. 3. आसीनमूर्व्यां भगवन्तमाद्यं सङ्कर्षणं देवमकुण्ठसत्त्वं विवित्सवस्तत्त्वं मतः परस्य कुमारमुख्या मुनयोन्वपृच्छन्. Some time ago, being inquisitive to know, Sanat Kumara, the chief of the boy saints, accompanied by other great sages, inquired exactly as you have about the truth regarding Vasudeva, the Supreme, from Lord Sankarshana, who was seated at the bottom of the universe. Swameva Dhishnyam. Lord Sankarshana was situated in his own abode. No. That is the next verse. That is, I'm confused. Urvyam Asina. Yes, he was situated in Patala, actually. Urvyam. In the bottom of the universe. Yes. At the bottom of the world, bottom of the earth, which here refers to Patala. Akunta Sattvam. Lord Sankarshana is further described as the one with undeterred knowledge. Good, nice translation. Adyam Devam, Bhagavantam Sankarshanam. He is the original Lord Sankarshana. Ataha, and from that Sankarshana, परस्य तत्त्वं विवित्सवः कुमारमुख्याः मुनयः. Then there were the sages beginning with the Kumaras, Sanat Kumara, and so on. They wanted to know, they were inquisitive to know about the nature of the Supreme. They wanted to know regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here, they wanted to know about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Vasudeva. From that Sankarshana, Anvaprichana, they inquired like this. Koso Bhagavan, who is that Bhagavan who spoke this Bhagavatam? Kebhyaha cha rishibhyaha. It is said that it was said that he spoke to the rishis. Which rishis? Katham cha tvaya praptam. And how did you get all this information? Iti apekshaya aha. Anticipating this, Sri Maitreya speaks. Asinam iti. Saptabhihi. Speaks 7 verses beginning with text 3. पूर्व्यां पातालतले अकुण्ठसत्त्वम् अप्रतिहतज्ञानम् अतः सङ्कर्षणात् परस्य श्रीवासुदेवस्य आसीनम् इति चतुष्कम्. Within these 7, these 4 beginning with text 3, they are one group. Kiriteti Sankarshanam ityasya visheshanam. What is this Kirita? Kirita will come later on. Koso Bhagavan Kebhya Rishibhyaha Katham Tvaya Praptam Ityapekshayamaha Asinam iti Saptabhi Urvyam Patalatale Akunta Sattvam Shuddha Sattva Swarupam Apratihata Jnanam Va. Akunta Sattvam not only means the one who possessed undeterred knowledge, but it also means the one whose very nature is that of Shuddha Sattva. Ataha Sankarshanat Parasya Shri Vasudevasya. This is in clarification of the statement that the Lord spoke directly on the Srimad Bhagavatam. When and unto whom the Bhagavatam was spoken is explained herewith. Questions similar to those put forward by Vidura were asked by great sages like Sanat Kumara, and Lord Sankarshan, the plenary expansion of the Supreme Lord Vasudeva, answered them. Four. Swamev Thishnyam Bahumanayantam Yadvasudeva Bhidamananti Pratyagdhritaksham Bhujakoshami Shed Unmilayantam Vibhudodayaya. At that time, Lord Sankarsana was meditating upon his Supreme Lord, whom the learned esteem as Lord Vasudeva, but for the sake of the advancement of the great learned sages, he slightly opened his lotus-like eyes and began to speak. Swam eva thishnyam yad Vasudevabhidam amananti bahumanayantam vibudha udayaya pratyagdhrita aksha ambuja kosham Ishat Unmilayantam Sankarshanam Anvaprachaniti. So this is a continuation of the previous verse by Sanskrit grammar. This is a further description of Lord Sankarsana actually. He was meditating on, glorifying, or worshipping Lord Sankarsana, who was his shelter. Tvameva Dishniyam Bahumanayantam. He greatly esteemed Lord Vasudeva. So his shelter is known as Lord Vasudeva. His shelter is acknowledged to be Lord Vasudeva by great sages. So he was glorifying him because he was experiencing Lord Vasudeva through meditation. And then he slightly opened his lotus-like eyes, which were already settled for introspection, for the sake of the spiritual advancement of these greatly learned sages. Tammeva Vishinashti. Further details about Lord Sankarshan. Swameva Dhishniyam Swiyam Ashtrayam Vasudeva Sangyam Paramananda Rupam Jnanapathe Anubhuya. So he, after experiencing this supremely blissful form known as Vasudeva, who was his own shelter, Bahumanayantam Sarvotkarshena Pujayantam, and he was worshipping him as the most exalted. Pratyak Dhritam Antarmukhi Kritam Netram Mukulam Kinchit Unmirayantam. So his uh, sense of perception was drawn inward for the sake of meditation. So he slightly opened up his eyes. Kripa Avalokena, by his merciful glance, Sanat Kumaradinam Abhyudayartham, for the upliftment of the Sanat Kumaras and so on. Tad Vasudeva Swarupa Ananda Anubhavartham ityartha. He had drawn his uh, sense of vision internally in order to experience the bliss of uh, his own form as Vasudeva. Tadapi Ishyaditi Udhanam Sanatkumaradina Abhyudayartham. Still slightly opened his lotus-like eyes for the upliftment of Sanat Kumara and others by Swardhunyudardrai Swajata Kalapair Upasprishantas Charanopadhanam Padmam Yadarchan Kanya Saprema Nana Balibir Varartha. The sages came from the highest planets down to the lower region through the water of the Ganges, and therefore the hair on their heads was wet. They touched the lotus feet of the Lord, which are worshipped with various paraphernalia by the daughters of the Serpent King when they desire good husbands. Muninam Sheshanam Sardhena. 1.5 verses giving details about the sages. Swardhunya Udakena Ardraihi iti. Just a minute. Okay, let me look at the Anvaya. Yat Sharana Upadhanam Padmam Vara Arthaha Ahirajakanyaha Saprema Nana Balibhihi Nana Balibhihi Archanti Swardhuni Udardraihi Swajata Kalapaihi Upasprishantaha. I think the description of the sages is for half of the verse. Sri Bhagavata Shravanartham Satyalokat Patalam Pratyavatarantaha Nirantaram Ganga Madhyata Eva Avatiranaha iti bhavaha. They came down from Satyaloka to Patala through the water of the Ganges. That is implied here. Charanam Upadhiyete Yasmin Padme. So they touched the lotus feet of the Lord. Tat Upasprishantaha Namantaha. They were touching the lotus feet of the Lord means that they offered obeisance unto him. Katham Bhutam Tad Aha. And what is the nature of that lotus feet? Yat Padmam Prema Sahitam Yatha Bhavati Evam Nana Upaharei Pujayanti Varartha Patikama. Munin Vishnishti Sardhen Swarthuni Udardreti Sri Bhagavata Shravanartham Satyaloka. They had come all the way down in order to hear or learn Sri Bhagavatam. प्रत्यवतरन्तः निरन्तरं गङ्गामध्ये एव अवतीर्णम् उपधानम् उपबर्हम् परार्थः पतिकामः नानाबलिभिः अर्चयन्ति. That is Upadhanam, Charanopadhanam. Okay. The Ganges water flows directly from the lotus feet of Vishnu, and its course runs from the highest planet of the universe down to the lowest. The sages came down from Satyaloka by taking advantage of the flowing water, a process of transportation made possible by the power of mystic yoga. If a river flows thousands and thousands of miles, a perfect yogi can at once transport himself from one place to another simply by dipping in its water. The Ganges is the only celestial river which flows throughout the universe, and great sages travel all over the universe via this sacred river. The statement that their hair was wet indicates that it had been directly moistened by the Ganges, the water originating from the lotus feet of Vishnu. Whoever touches the water of the Ganges to his head surely touches the lotus feet of the Lord directly, and thus becomes free from all effects of sinful acts. If after taking a bath in the Ganges and being washed of all sins, a man guards himself against committing further sinful acts, then certainly he is delivered. But if he again takes up sinful activities, his bath in the Ganges is as good as that of the elephant, who nicely takes his bath in a river, but later spoils the whole thing by covering himself with dust on the land. 6. मुहुर्गृणन्तो वजसानुरागस्खलत्पतेनास्य कृतानि तद्याः किरीटसाहस्रमणिप्रवेकप्रद्योतितोद्दाम फणासहस्रम्. 4 Kumaras, headed by Sanat Kumara, who all knew the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, glorified the Lord in rhythmic accents with selected words full of affection and love. At that time, Lord Sankarsana, with his thousands of raised hoods, began to radiate an effulgence from the glowing stones on his head. Anuragas khalat padena vachasa muhuhu asya kritani granantaha tadyaha किरीटसाहस्रमणिप्रवेक प्रद्योतितोद्दाम फणासहस्रम अन्ववृक्षन्. So these sages, they had asked questions from this Lord Sankarsana, who is now described here in further detail. Kritani karmani granantaha. So they were describing the activities of this Lord. Kena, how did they do it? Anuragena skhalanti padani yasmin tena vachasa. They spoke with symmetrical rhythm and with affection. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, Tahara prema bhare gaggada vachane tat samudaye barambar kirtan korite lagile. They began to engage in repeated glorification of all the activities of the Lord with a faltering voice due to love for Him. At that time, Tani Jananti iti tadgyaha, and they knew about these activities of the Lord. Sahasrameva sahasram, kiritanam sahasre ye manipraveka ratnottamaha. And the Lord had thousands of helmets on which there were excellent glowing stones or excellent jewels. तैः प्रद्योतितमुद्दाम प्राणां सहस्रं यस्य तम् अपृच्छन्. कृतानि लीला सहस्रमेव साहस्रं तत्र मणिप्रमुखे रत्नमुख्यैः मुख्यवर्यवरेण्याश्च प्रवेका नो तोत्तमोत्तम अपृच्छन् इति पूर्वेण अन्वयः. The Lord is sometimes addressed as Uttama Shloka, which means one who is worshipped with selected words by devotees. The profusion of such selected words comes from a devotee who is fully absorbed in affection and love for the devotional service of the Lord. There are many instances in which even a small boy who was a great devotee of the Lord could offer excellent prayers in the choicest words for glorification of the pastimes of the Lord. In other words, without the development of fine affection and love, one cannot offer prayers to the Lord very suitably. 7. प्रोक्तं किल इतद् भगवत्तमेन निवृत्तिधर्माभिरताय तेन सनत्कुमाराय स चाह पृष्टः सांख्यायनाय यज्ञधृतव्रताय. Anga. Oh dear Vidura. That is Anga here. Oh my dear Vidura, yes. एतद् भगवत्तमेन तेन निवृत्तधर्म अभिरताय सनत्कुमाराय किल प्रोक्तम. This was indeed spoken to Sanat Kumara, who was absorbed in Nivritti Dharma. Pravritti Dharma, Nivritti Dharma. He had taken up the Dharma of renunciation. Sahacha Prishtaha Dhritavrataya Sankhayanaya Aha. And when Sanat Kumara was inquired about this, then he spoke the same to Sankhyayana, who had taken up various vows to control the mind. Lord Sankarsana thus spoke the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam to the great sage Sanat Kumara, who had already taken the vow of renunciation, Nivritti Dharma Bhirataya. Sanat Kumara also, in his turn, when inquired of by Sankhyayan Muni, explained Srimad Bhagavatam as he had heard it from Sankarsana. Tena Sankarshanena Sanat Kumaraya Proktam. So that Lord Sankarsana had spoken all this to Sanat Kumara. Jagat Utpatyadi Jnanavatsu Bhagavatsu Shreshthena. Amongst those who have knowledge about the creation, maintenance, annihilation, etc. of the universe, Lord Sankarsana is the best. Therefore, he is referred to as Bhagavat Tamena. Bhagavat Tamena can also simply mean Bhagavan. This is the way of the Parampara system. Although Sanat Kumara, the well-known great saintly Kumara, was in the perfect stage of life, still he heard the message of Srimad Bhagavatam from Lord Sankarsana. Similarly, when Sanat Kumara was questioned by Sankhyayana Rishi, the Kumara spoke to him the same message he had heard from Lord Sankarsana. In other words, unless one hears from the proper authority, one cannot become a preacher. In devotion service, therefore, 2 items out of the 9, namely hearing and chanting, are most important. Without hearing nicely, one cannot preach the message of Vedic knowledge. 8. Sankhyayanah paramahamsya mukhyo vivikshamano bhagavad vibhuti jagada sosmat guraveng vitaya parasharayatha Brihaspatesya. The great sage Sankhayana was the chief amongst the transcendentalists. When he was describing the glories of the Lord in terms of Srimad Bhagavatam, it so happened that both my spiritual master Parashara and Brihaspati heard him. while reciting the glories of the Lord. Paramahamsya mukhyam sankhyaena bhagavad vibhutihi lokshamaanaha. So when this best of the Paramahamsas, Sankhyayana Rishi, when he wanted to speak about the glorious, opulent activities of the Lord, of the Supreme Lord, Anvitaya Asman Gurave Parasharaya Brihaspatescha Jagada. He also spoke to his follower, my spiritual master Parashara, as well as Brihaspati. पारमहंस्य धर्मे मुख्यः विवक्षमाणः इति आत्मनेपदं ध्रूम्यादेशस्य वचेर् उभयपदित्वात् अन्विताय अनुगताय बृहस्पतये 9 प्रोवाच मह्यं स दयालुरुक्तो मुनिः पुलस्त्येन पुराणम् आद्यं सोऽहं तव एतत् कथयामि वत्स श्रद्धालवे नित्यमनुव्रताय. The great sage Parashara, as aforementioned, being so advised by the great sage Pulastya, spoke unto me the foremost of the Puranas, Bhagavatam. I should also describe this before you, my dear son, in terms of my hearing, because you are always my faithful follower. So Dayalu Munihi Pulastyena Uktaha Adyam Puranam Mahyam Provacha Vatsa Saha Aham Shraddhalave Nityam Anuvrataya Tava Etat Puranam Kathayami. That merciful sage, Parashara, was blessed by Pulastya. There's a whole incident. This comes in the beginning of Vishnu Purana. He was, upon the instruction of Pulastya, he spoke the first Purana, Bhagavatam, to me. That incident is that, and I'll simply summarize it, that Pulastya was very satisfied with Parashara for a particular purpose. I think it will come out here in the Tathya or in the purport. And therefore he blessed him that may you become a speaker of the Puranas. That means may you, he benedicted him, he blessed him, that may you have the capacity to explain the purport of the Puranas. So then he spoke this first Purana, Bhagavata, the first class Purana, Bhagavata, to Maitreya. My dear child, that I will speak to you because you are faithful, Shraddhalave, and you are always interested in following Nityam Anuvrataya, Sada Anugataya. Tava etat Puranam Kathayami. I will now speak this Purana to you. Pulastyena Ukta iti atra evam akhyayika. That Parashara was instructed by Pulastya is being so advised by the great sage Pulastya. Regarding that, there is this history. Pitaram Rakshasa Bhakshitam Shutva Parasharaha Rakshasa Satre Pravrittaha Vasishta Vachanat Nivrittaha Tataha Pulastyena Swasantati Rakshanat Tushtena Varaha Dattaha Purana Pravakta Bhavishyasi. When Parashara's father, Shakti, was eaten up by a Rakshasa, by not I think many Rakshasas. This comes right in the beginning of Vishnu Purana. Then Parashara, he began a sacrifice to destroy all the Rakshasas. At that time, Vasishta came to him, told him, don't do this, stopped him. So then Pulastya came and gave him a benediction that you will become a speaker of the Purana. The great sage Pulastya is the father of all demoniac descendants. Once upon a time, Parashara began a sacrifice in which all the demons were to be burnt to death because his father had been killed and devoured by one of them. The great sage Vasishta Muni arrived at the sacrifice and requested Parashara to stop the deadly action, and because of Vasishta's position and respect in the community of sages, Parashara could not deny the request. Parashara having stopped the sacrifice, Pulastya, the father of the demons, appreciated his Brahmanical temperament and gave the blessing that in the future he would be a great speaker. He would be, that was right, on the Vedic literatures called the Puranas, the supplements of the Vedas. Parashara's action was appreciated by Pulastya because Parashara had forgiven the demons out of his Brahmanical power of forgiveness. Parashara was able to demolish all the demons in the sacrifice. But he considered demons are so made that they devour any living creature, man or animal. But why, on account of that, should I withdraw my Brahmanical qualification of forgiveness? As the great speaker of the Puranas, Parashara first of all spoke on the Srimad Bhagavata Purana because it is the foremost of all the Puranas. Maitreya Muni desired to narrate the same Bhagavatam he had heard from Parashara. And Vidra was qualified to hear it because of his faithfulness and his following the instructions received from superiors. So Srimad Bhagavatam was being narrated from time immemorial by the disbelieved Satushan. Even before the time of Vyasadeva, the so-called historians calculate the Puranas to be only a few hundred years old. But factually, the Puranas existed from time immemorial before all historical calculations by the mundaners and speculative philosophers. 10. Udaplutam vishvam idam tadasti yannidraya militadhrinyamilayat ahindratalpe dhishayana eka kritakshana swatma ratau niriha. When the three worlds were submerged in water, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu was alone, lying on his bedstead. The great sage Ananta. And although Garbhodakashayi Vishnu appeared to be in slumber, in his own internal potency, free from the action of the external energy, his eyes were not completely closed. Idam Vishwam Udaplutam Yat Asit. So when this universe was immersed in a single ocean, Tada at that time, Militadrik Ahindra Talpaha Adishayinaha. Where is that? Adishayinaha. 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 Ahindra Talpe Adishayinaha. Okay. Lord Sri Narayana, who was lying on his bed of the king of serpents, which means he was lying down on Anantashesha. Swatma Ratau Kritakshanaha. At that time, the Supreme Lord was absorbed in his internal pleasure potential activities, and his eyes were closed, Amilita, which indicates that he did not reveal his spiritual potency. Ateva niriha, nishkriya. So at that time he was inactive, means externally inactive. Ekaha, he was alone externally. Yamilayat, his eyes were closed. Netrin militavan. Yamilayat. Yamilayat. Why is it not completely closed? let's wait and see how the commentaries explain it. तदेवं संकृष्णात् संप्रदाय प्रवृत्तिं प्रदर्श्य विभूति कथनाय पद्मोद्भवं वक्तुमाह. So having described the Bhagavata Sampradaya that has come down from Sankarsana, now in order to describe the various opulent activities of the Supreme Lord, he speaks this verse to first of all point out that he was the source of the lotus, universal lotus. Udaplutam ekarnave ekarnava udake nimagnam yad yada asit tada amilita drik atirohita chichaktihi eva Sri Narayana netre nimilitavan ityartha. Maya vinodam parityajya swatmarato swarupanandeva krita utsavaha. So he had given up his pastimes with external Maya and he was enjoying the celebration of his internal bliss. So therefore he was inactive, externally inactive. This is long. उदाप्लुतमे कारणमोदकनिमग्नमेव तदासीत् कदा यद् यदा नैमित्तिकप्रलये अमीलितदृक् अतिरोहितचित्कतिरेव गर्भोदशायी श्रीनारायणः नेत्रे निमीलितवान् इत्यर्थः. So he had closed his eyes and he did not reveal his chit shakti. And this was at the time of the Naimittika Pralaya, occasional dissolution. Swarupa Shaktibihi Sahar Ratav Ramane Kritotsava. He was, look at this. Swatma Ratav Kritakshana. He was engaged in enjoying his own Atmas, plural, which means his internal potencies. Niriha Jaktamaya Ikshanaha. He was inactive, which means he did not anymore glance at Maya. He had stopped glancing at Maya. In the Tathya, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has given further information about that history. The Lord is externally enjoying transcendental bliss by his internal potency, whereas the Lord is eternally enjoying transcendental bliss by his internal potency, whereas the external potency is suspended during the time of the dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. So even though it was closed, Prabhupada gives information they were not completely closed. Okay, 11. Sonta sharire arpita bhuta sukshma kalatmikam shaktim udirayana uvasa tasmin salile pade swe yathanalo daruni ruddhavirya. Just like the strength of fire within fuel wood, the Lord remained within the water of dissolution, submerging all the living entities in their subtle bodies. He lay in the self-invigorated energy called Kala. Antasharire arpita bhuta sukshma. Saha Bhagavan. Kalatmikam shaktim udirayana. So the Supreme Lord was impelling the force of time. Actually, the gross and subtle matter was already merged into him. But now he began to propel his potency known as time. Swepade tasmin salile daru niruddh virya analaha yatha uvasa. At that time, he was in that single ocean, the way fire is inside wood and its prowess is contained. Okay. दारुणि शुद्धवीर्यः आष्टान्तर्निहिततेजस्कः. Okay. कालशक्तेः प्रेरणं पुनः सृष्टि अवसरे प्रबोधनार्थम् is impelling the potency of time. He lay in the self-invigorated energy called Kala means actually that he had invigorated Kala. He was impelling his potency of time to start work now. So you should know, right, from the beginning of creation, it is the time force that is taking everything through. Jayate, asti, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, mriyate. These are the different phases of matter when it is impelled by time. So he very much wanted to awaken his Kala Shakti again for the next creation. Swepade adhisthane bahirvritya bhave drishtantaha. But externally he was not acting. And the example is that of the fuel wood. Okay, I'll stop with that. But I should continue from Ramasundar. Okay, we'll stop with that. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Okay. Just need